And he called me and he said, there are cars lined up Wheatland Road to get into the parking lot. And, I just had to like stop and take a breath and be like, I told you so. Like, this is it.
Hey, this is Andy Young, the Mountain Money Man, welcoming you back to another episode. Today, this is going to be a fun one because my wife absolutely loves sunflowers. And I know that she was so excited when we moved back up here because she was like, yay, I finally get to go to this festival with that she'd been seeing everything on Facebook. But I got Candace Monaghan that's with Beaver Dam Sunflower Farm. So Beaver Dam Farm, beautiful sunflowers. You can see with the background that she's got right now behind her. That's, although it's not real right now, that's really the farm. So it's beautiful. Candace, welcome so much to the show this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very welcome. So with that, Candace, obviously farming is hard. It doesn't matter what type it is. And you guys are in a rare space where you're almost reaching a point where the family has owned the farm and operated as a farm for 100 years and more in Virginia. So did you grow up that you just were spending all your free time doing stuff around the farm?
Not all of my free time, but some of it. And like you said, we've owned our farmland since 1900. And then we actually were a tomato canning factory. Botetourt County was huge in tomatoes, and we had a tomato canning factory on the farm until 1927. In 1927, we opened as a dairy farm, and we had 30 head of cattle that were milked twice a day. And that went on until 2019. We grew to 130 cattle that we milked twice a day. And my uncle and my dad and my brother ran that operation. And then, farming, like you said, is hard, and rising costs to operate came into play, and it wasn't as profitable. So we took the hard decision to close the dairy, and we went into beef cattle farming. So we now have beef cattle, and we run a small hay and straw operation as well. And then, of course, we have sunflowers, and that helps, to offset some of the costs for the farm, to hope, to provide more income to keep the farmland in the family of those that are left. And the sunflowers just kind of took off from 2015. We happened to have a little open field, and my dad said he was going to plant some sunflowers just because he liked them. No other reason, no other thought behind it whatsoever. So he planted 20 acres of sunflowers, and
just a small planting.
Right. Just a few. And just so you know, there's about 500,000 sunflowers in a 20-acre field, the way we plant. So it's incredible to watch them all bloom. But so he planted these, and they started growing, and we started watching them, and we were kind of like, well, now what do we do? Like, it's great that they're pretty, but there's got to be some way to make income off of them. So we started researching, and we found, you could use them for oil, or you could use them for birdseed. And so with us, birdseed was the most logical reason or route to go, because we already had the equipment that we needed to harvest the seed. So we harvested the seed. I found somewhat local. I found a guy up in Harrisonburg. So it's about an hour and a half, that can clean the seed for us and bag it and put labels on the bags. And then once that's done, we go pick up the seed and bring it back. And Northwest Hardware is our largest distributor of seed. So that's kind of what we did in 2015 in our first year. And we had a few people come up to us and say, my girlfriend would love sunflowers, and I would look so nice in front of her if I could pick these fresh sunflowers and take them to her. And we had some people wanting to stop for photos and such. So we allowed that, and that was it. Then we were done as far as we were concerned. And then the following year, we planted again because the birdseed sold out very quickly. And we were like, well, let's just try again. And 2 weeks before they were supposed to bloom, my dad and I were having a meeting just about the farm in general. And I said, I think we could charge people to see these sunflowers. Like, people charge, to walk through their corn. So we could charge to walk through our sunflowers. What's the difference? And he was like, I don't like that idea. That's not a good idea. And I could see him just like, tensing up and starting to worry. And my dad's like most farmers, he doesn't, he's very quiet. He doesn't enjoy, he won't go out of his way to talk to people, he's just a quiet man. And he didn't like the idea of people roaming around on his property. And so he was very against the idea, but we left the meeting with me saying, we're going to do it, right? And that's kind of where it took off. I started, it was really small. I said, if we could get 300 people here, like, $5 a head, 300 people, that could really help pay a bill or two. So we went to the local James River High School and asked them if they would come sell waters and hot dogs in case somebody showed up and in case they were hungry. We wanted to have a plan. And then we're good friends with the Jeters. And so, Jeter Farm is here in the county also. And they are a century farm. And they pull off a very successful event every year with their corn maze and pumpkin festival. So we borrowed their little pull behind train that they have, and we hooked it to our tractor. And so we could provide rides. And then we had a church group do face painting. And that's about all that we had. And, my brother is several years younger than I am. And he was kind of on board with my dad. Like, I don't want to see people. I don't want to have to work this event. And I'll never forget that first year, we're right on Route 11. And he called me and he said, there are cars lined up Wheatland Road to get into the parking lot. And, I just had to like stop and take a breath and be like, I told you so. Like, this is it, You
had your Field of Dreams moment.
We did it, yes. So that year went great. We were open one day and we ended with around 1,600 people. So
wow.
It was just great for everybody involved. Lots of tears shed that first year. Like, look at what we did. We're going to do it again. Like, let's see where it can take us. And so now we're entering our 6th year. So.
And it's no small feat, number one, to put on an event of that scale, period. But when you couple that with running, it's an operating farm. Like it's not just that, hey, we go put on a festival and we have these people come. It's a operating farm. And for those of you that are listening or watching this right now, if you haven't been around farming, it's a around the clock almost job that goes through. I helped my uncle in hay and in setting tobacco for one summer, and it took me about 2 weeks into it to go, you know what? Yeah, I'm not doing this. I can remember the fertilizer splashing out of the top down onto me as I'm setting the tobacco plants. And I was like, yeah, I'm not, this isn't going to work for me. But that's the only thing he knew. He grew up doing it. He would work the farm in the morning that they had cattle, and then he would go work construction during the day, and he'd get home, he'd eat, and he would go back out and work until everything was done. And right. There's a lot of farms like that operate, yours included, that, when you say you don't want people in your way, oh my gosh, the last thing I want is I'm having to deal with these people in and out. Yeah, it makes sense. It's not right. Because you hate people. It's because for your dad and your brother, that's like, listen, there's enough stuff going on. I don't need to worry about somebody tripping and falling because I'm trying to take something through. Yep. Like, we got to get the job done.
Exactly. And what I was just going to say is, like, with us, it's farming, which, is also a science. And when it comes time to planting, and, where some of the corn mazes can set their schedules, months in advance, we can't do that. Sunflowers only bloom 12 to 14 days. So we've had to figure out how to stretch them out so they'll last over 2 weekends. And then I have our schedule down. Like, for instance, we're supposed to plant on next Wednesday, which would be the 14th of July. And as long as the weather cooperates and the ground's not too hard, or it doesn't rain when we go to plant, and we can plant on that day, then we should be open. September 11th should be our first opening weekend. So, people don't understand, like, why can't you tell us dates in January? Well, it depends on Mother Nature. I mean, if this hurricane comes and, it's rainy and we can't plant, but then again, we do need rain so the ground is soft enough. So
Yeah.
all those things have to come into play when we go to plant and fertilize and all of that.
So some of the challenges that maybe you've had along the way as the farm has passed through the generations, that's a hard part to begin with. But maybe describe some of those challenges that you had of when you had that conversation with Dad and you're saying, hey, I want to put on these events. How did that logistically work out that you were trying to, was that just kind of, it came together? You said, hey, Jeter's doing it. We'll just call them, see what they're doing, and we'll put it on. Or how did that come about?
Well, we did call them for their train, or to borrow that. But when it came down to it, this was an event, unlike many of them in the area, just because of, the difference in crop and everything. And I didn't want to copy, what they're doing or what the farm up the road is doing or in the next county. Like, we wanted this to be our own event. And so that's why, obviously with the sunflowers, it sets it apart. But, we went in the direction of, with the vendors and the crafters also. So this year, for instance, we have 70 food vendors and crafters that'll be here all 4 days. And so, they each bring something different to the table. They're not, overseas companies. They're all handmade. And that supports our community in so many ways. The churches that we have come in to sell, hamburgers and hot dogs, like that all stays in the community and goes back to the youth groups. So where we did, we were able to ask questions about certain things, but we really wanted to take this in a direction of our own and make it our own event, which I think we've done, a great job with.
Absolutely. And like I said, the challenges of a normal farm, when these farms pass from one generation to the next, because of what I do on a daily basis, I understand that there's a little thing called a tax bill that happens that people get concerned about. And if it's not planned for, that's why you see, unfortunately, a lot of these long-term farms that have started to get broken up, because if the operation is starting to fail, or if there's not additional revenue streams coming in, like where you guys have diversified and created these different things to be able to have income coming into the farm, it keeps the farm healthy. But without that, if there's one thing that they're standing on, I grew up in the southwestern tip of Virginia where it was just tobacco farms. And when those tobacco allotments got smaller and smaller and smaller, you couldn't afford the operation. So a lot of those turned into grape farms, which is great to support the wine industry right now in Virginia. But it was a shift. You had to have people that were willing to say, you know what, I can't, even though this is what daddy or granddaddy did, and I would love to continue that, I would much rather just keep the farm than I would to be stubborn.
Yes, exactly. And, it was not an easy decision for my dad and brother to step out of the dairy industry. But when you step back and, look at it as a whole, like we had no choice. And, being able to, kind of pivot and diversify. And I mean, my dad's not getting any younger, so dairy was hard on him. He can relax a little more now. My brothers built up the hay operation to a great place, and they supply to horse farms around, and of course, like I said, the sunflowers help, and all of that. Thinking long term, I mean, we want to keep the land in the family, and that's what it's all about. It's just saving the land.
So obviously, this has made an impact on your family, but what's the impact you want to be known for in the community? When we talk about Beaver Dam Farm and the sunflowers, what's the impact that you want to be known for in the central southwestern area of Virginia?
Well, we do a lot of community, I guess, involvement and giving back. We do have 2 high school scholarships that we've started a few years ago that go out every year. Last year, we started community scholarships. So 2 nonprofits from the community receive scholarships. But then we also have like face painting, for instance. We try to get groups from the local high schools to come face paint, and we provide all of the supplies that they need. They paint and they take home all of the earnings that they earn from being here for a day or however long they might want to be here. So it's no cost to them, but their time to, be involved. And then our school groups, as far as like a PTA, if they want to sit up and, sell a food product, and churches that come, we don't charge them a booth fee. They provide a service to our community, so we feel like we need to just give that back to them, and they come set up for free and they take home all their earnings. And that's just another way to support them, keep our money in the community. And we do have field trip days, and those days are, at a discounted rate, but we do that during the week. We have one for preschoolers, one for senior citizens, and one for special needs kids and adults. And that way those groups can come out. There's not thousands of people here. They can walk around and, not be overwhelmed. They can take their time if they're in wheelchairs or walkers, or, little feet don't move as fast as ours. So they just need more time to get through. So we love those days, and we didn't get to do it last year because of COVID. But this year, being able to have all those groups back, we're really looking forward to doing that. And then we have things. We had a beekeeper come in last year, and he set up his hives, and it might sound kind of odd, but that was local honey from right here that can go back out to our community. And the benefits of honey, and allergies, like local honey is supposed to help with allergies from the area. So as funny as it sounds, I feel like that's another small way to help people around. So we have events like that and opportunities like that we're very grateful for.
Well, it's great. Anytime that you can have people in the community that are helping each other out to run forward. You mentioned that your brother with the hay operation, it's not just for the sake of that. It's helping feed the horses that are local, that maybe they don't have a large enough pasture to be able to go in, or anything with that they can have good local sourced hay. And it helps him because he's keeping the property clear by cutting the hay. But when you can do that, it's this symbiotic relationship that happens, whether it's farm business or any other small community business that's here in the area, because we see this all the time with Heather Alto with Central Virginia Business Coalition, that when I'm at different events and she's like, oh, do you know so-and-so? And they're like, oh yeah, I already know them because we do XYZ together. Mm-hmm. And it's these relationships are built over time, which is a beautiful thing with that. Speaking of relationships, what have been the relationships important to you, Candace, with the farm operation or with the putting on the event that have helped you continue to grow this over the 6 years?
Absolutely. Well, we have some great sponsors that help with the event every year. And Bank of Botetourt, has been around the county first, and then, has spread its wings for quite some time, and they've been on board. We've had great relationships with them. My grandmother used to work for them and retired with them. My mom used to work with them. They've been our community bank forever. So it's great to have them on board. We have the John Alderson Agency in Delville, and they have been on board the past few years also. And then this year new is Virginia Tourism, and they have helped us out. This year we're having a VIP night, and they're helping sponsor that night. And I'm blessed and excited that all of them are on board with us and can help us grow and are growing with us every year to provide new opportunities for us and our visitors.
So you mentioned that with the VIP night that's going to be coming up September 10th, September 11th. You said that we're hoping that that's going to be the opening night as far as for people coming in to kick off the season for you guys. But where can people keep up with Beaver Dam so that they can follow along, whether it be online or about future events, or if there's changes in the dates because the sunflowers had to get planted later?
Right. So hopefully July 21st, we'll be able to announce our dates for all of our events. But beaverdamsunflowers.com is our website. and that will be updated as soon as we have our date set. And then we are on Facebook and Instagram, and we update those as well as soon as we know anything. And then this year we are working, and it's not ready yet, but and I guess you're the first person I'm kind of announcing it with, but we're creating an app that's tied to the sunflowers and the festival. And that'll be an interactive app. You know, it's a digital age. So when people come to the event, they'll be able to use the app while they're at the festival and learn about sunflowers and insects that affect the sunflowers and everything that's going on that day, and have a map so they can see where they need to go while they're on the premises and things like that. So we have several areas or ways to keep in touch with us.
And that'll be fantastic, because I just had a friend that went on a tour. They kind of did a lot of the West Coast coming over through Colorado. And one of the things that they said that they enjoyed, they had an app or some sort that they downloaded that was kind of like a tour guide as you were going through, that were not just that you were seeing the beauty, it was actually explaining what was going on. So that'll be great when you can actually get to know a little bit more about, hey, this is what's going on. Here's this type of sunflower. Here's what this does. I'm really, really interested to see how that plays off when we get to come out later this year. Yeah. Well, Candace, I greatly appreciate you sharing your story. It's a beautiful property. I know you guys do a lot to work here in the community that you shared with. And that's something that's beautiful that we continue to see over and over again. People saying, if I help out, I want to be able to share this abundance with others. I want to find ways that I can be able to give back to the community and take care of that. And you obviously are doing it. So until next time, this is Andy Young, the Mountain Money Man, signing off until I catch you down the road.
And he called me and he said, there are cars lined up Wheatland Road to get into the parking lot. And, I just had to like stop and take a breath and be like, I told you so. Like, this is it.